And then we look at kids, right? We talk about children. So the vaccines that are available now were not tested in kids, and it's not been recommended that kids get the vaccines. So what does that mean? The kids will go unvaccinated until we get a vaccine in which kids have been part of the clinical trials?
Yeah, that's true. I think it's very important to know that there's no reason to believe the vaccine will be any less effective or less safe in kids than adults, but you do need data. You do need to do those studies. I expect that those studies will enroll very quickly. In fact, Pfizer has already begun a pediatric vaccine study. And I would expect by April, we would have those results and we would already be starting to vaccinate children based on the results of those studies.
Yes, well, that is good news for sure. And then, people are concerned, number one, is this really a vaccine that has been vetted properly by the scientists? And the idea that the time has been so compressed. Some of these vaccines, as you know, can take up to 8 years, and this has been about 10 months. So what would you say to people who are concerned about the safety of the vaccines, given how it seems to have been rushed?
Yeah, no, I think that there's two really important points to make that you're raising, Dr. Ian. The first is people need to understand the expedited process here was not a shortcut of safety or efficacy standards. A huge number of people have been vaccinated. The expedited process was because an enormous number of resources were put in, that bureaucratic red tape was cut to a minimum. Manufacturing, this is never done. Manufacturing was done in parallel to the research so that as soon as the research was done, there was enough vaccine to begin rolling out. Normally, there would be many months further just to get the manufacturing scaled up. So the things that were short-circuited here were not safety and efficacy. There were bureaucracy and parallel, because we were willing to spend billions of dollars at risk. What if the vaccine didn't work? We would have lost that money on manufacturing. We were willing to make that investment. That's why this has been expedited, and that's the first important point. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, Dr. Spellberg, I think it's important, though, to elucidate and clarify for people that, yes, we've saved a lot of time because of money and new technology. However, there still are some concerns about what the long-term consequences may be 2 years out, 3 years out, 4 years out. Because we've had such compressed time, we haven't had a chance to compile data 2, 3, 4 years out like we typically do. So that does remain a little bit of a gamble, but the early signs show that the types of side effects people are experiencing are not major side effects.
Yes, that's correct. And I would also emphasize that we've been dealing with vaccines since the 1950s. And there are no vaccines on the market that result in long-term side effects.
And last, I just want to say about this point is I think that we are responsible, all of us who have a platform, doctors, government, we have to explain to people that there may be some reactions when you get the first vaccine, redness, maybe a fever, muscle aches, fatigue. Some people may get that. About 10 to 15% may experience it. And so people should be aware it might happen, but that should not stop them from getting the second dose of the vaccine. If they don't get the second shot, then they're not going to have full protection.
Yeah, in fact, it's an interesting point that the reaction you're describing, which absolutely does occur, as you said, 10 to 15% of people, is really the sign of a robust immune response to the vaccine. It may be a positive thing. Your immune system is saying, wow, I'm going to recognize this the next time it comes along. I'm going to be all over it.